Thank you, Dr. Forber-Pratt. What a phenomenal discussion and a great lead-in. What will you do? And I also like the kind of a change the world tagline there. So fantastic. Thank you. And you've heard all about this wonderful, inclusive, awesome enclave that Peabody is, and now you're going to launch out into the job search. So you got to leave. But we will be excited. Who's thinking about coming to Peabody so that you can launch an awesome career? Go ahead and throw your hands up in the air. All way up in there. We want to see them way in there. Move them around, swing them back and forth like you just don't care. Come on, keep them up, keep them up. We're going to go somewhere with this. Keep them up. Now, oh yeah, so you're all excited about launching the career. Now, who's excited about the job search? Keep those hands in the air. Swing them. Oh, Kathleen, we may be in for some trouble. Well, what I would like for you to walk away with, if nothing else today, is that you do land. We work closely with you to make sure that you launch kind of a career where you do go out and change the world. And you will also have some fun with the process, maybe a lot of fun with the process, but we'll make it as fun as possible and get you out there interacting with some interesting people. We are Peabody Career Services. We're the directors of the Career Center here. I'm Jeff Henley, and this is Kathleen Rawl. So we're directing your career as you launch out from that point. And kind of our promise to you is that we help you identify the career path, build the pitch, and connect with employers. So we're your strategic career partner. So we'll work with you closely at just various junctures and at key points to help you move forward with that career. You manage the process, implement the plan, and conduct extensive outreach. And it varies by program how we do this. So we collaborate very closely with your program directors to think about when are those key junctures. What are the types of things that employers are starting to look for? We help you understand that and then think about how you most effectively communicate that. Some of the identify characteristics that we look for is, y'all can read this, but we believe that the first step is to think about an actionable career focus. What is it that you want to do that's out there? What is the difference you're going to make? And then starting to think about, okay, with that group, what is it that they're looking for? And what are the strengths that you bring to the table? And the strengths that you bring to the table, in many ways, you walked in the door with them here today. And so help you to identify a little bit of those and think about compelling ways to communicate that through practicum discussions with faculty members, discussions with other people in your cohort, some of the more traditional means through interviews and resumes and stuff of that sort. Then we'll start to think about how do you connect with this group. And we think about career twice while you're here at Peabody, early and often. So it'll be, we'll actually reach out to you before it starts. We'll meet with you again at orientation and then have a 30 to 45 minute meeting with either Kathleen or I to really delve into some of the dough of who you are and how do you start to express that out there in the world. Some of the activities that we have, see the exciting meeting with us individually, but also have up there the poster session. So you start to think about where have people gone before? What are some of the things that they've gone out and done, and what might I do? So it's a chance to kind of share with the sometimes the second years in your program what they're doing. Building the pitch, we're big on the interview relays and just had actually one 2 weeks ago we have education majors here today. Oh, I don't need to talk about this then, do I? We'll try it again. Do we have education majors? Okay, one or two back there maybe. Well, we had 70 recruiters on campus to come in, and it's a mock interview relay. So they'll sit down with you for a 20-minute mock interview where you'll kind of talk about yourself for 15 minutes and then get 3 to 5 minutes of feedback. You always wonder a little bit after you walk out of an interview, don't you? How did I do? And this time you're going to get that feedback immediately afterwards. And for this one, that interview relay right there for the education group, we had 22 job offers go out from Metro Nashville alone for that one. So that was kind of an exciting one. Starting to connect with employers. So did we mention getting jobs? So that's also an important part of what we do, and also our goal for our time together. And I'm guessing that might be a little bit of your goal for our time together is starting to launch those careers, even though it didn't seem like a lot of you were waving your hands in the air and all excited about that. So, Kathleen?
Yeah, Thanks, Jeff. I just want to talk, like Jeff said, my name is Kathleen, and I'm actually an alum of Peabody. I graduated from the higher ed administration program, so I was sitting in your chair 6 years ago, and I just need to say that 6 years ago it was snowing outside, so this is crazy. But this is also Nashville. You never know what you're going to get. So we're glad you're here. We want to talk a little bit about our results that we're really proud of. So just looking at last year's graduates, we had 316 grads, and we're really excited about that middle number, our knowledge rate, and that's really how we can say that we keep track of our students and our students keep in touch with us, and we really use that as kind of a satisfaction measure. So people really connect with us. We build that relationship with you from, like Jeff said, very early on in the process, and we continue to keep in touch with our students and alumni even after they leave. And so we know where 94% of those graduates are, and then by September 30th 95% of those people were employed, and we're excited to say that they're employed in jobs. They're not just flipping burgers, they're in jobs that they're really excited about and really well prepared for. So we're happy to work with you. We love to work with you to make that match happen. So last year, 54% of our grads actually stayed in the state of Tennessee, and a lot of those were here in Nashville. As Dean Benbow said, this city is booming. Just look around and see all the cranes. There's a lot of opportunity for growth here. But you don't have to stay in Tennessee either. So people kind of spread out around the country. This is kind of the makeup of where people have gone, the Southeast being our biggest region. But if you're from the West Coast or the Northeast, you can certainly go back there. We have a lot of alumni connections in those regions as well. And then also internationally, we have about 9% of our grads last year landed at an international location. So we have people, our Peabody connections are literally around the globe. So we are excited about that. And we want to introduce you to a few of our alumni just to kind of give you a brief snapshot of where they've landed so you can see yourself in those roles, hopefully.
It was fun as we were putting this together, thinking about the success stories that everybody has, and kind of look back to, I think, 2 years ago when we started working with this class that graduated in either May or December, kind of where they were when they started, and sometimes it looks like it's all tied up neatly in a bow. Undecided is still our most popular career destination for people when they walk in the door, and for those of you that don't have that do have something decided, it's very often that people switch as they're going through. So I want you to walk in knowing that even if you're not completely decided about what you're going into, we work with you on that kind of identifying the career path as well. But this is Ryan. He came in and said, I want to be an analyst consultant, and I want to go anywhere there's a consulting firm. And he landed with community science, and he also wanted to make change. And you can see the tagline of creating social change with knowledge. So it's pretty exciting to see him kind of look nationally at different think tanks and consulting firms that he could be with, and enjoyed that process with him.
Yeah, and this is Andy. Andy graduated in May from our Ed Policy program, and Andy, after our initial meeting, said to me, quote, Kathleen, I'm not a fan of networking. And I was like, okay, we're going to work on that. He did his summer internship in San Francisco through Ed Pioneers, and he came back from that experience and said, Kathleen, I love networking. I'm so good at it. And he really did a great job of really building his network and used that to ultimately land his job with the Education Trust in D.C.
And this is Sarah, and she was New York City. So looking at New York City and wanted to go work and ended up with Cognition Builders and going into the clinical director role there. And Emily, this is an interesting story. It's like you just sometimes get pipelines started, but had a student 3 years ago. Paige went out to work for Tollgate Elementary School, and I put the mountains on there because it's Colorado. So they were both interested in a very focused Colorado search, and Emily came in and said, I'm thinking I'd like to go to Colorado after I graduate. And then it was almost like Tele. Less than 2 weeks later, Paige said, I'm coming back to Nashville. So I said, well, why don't you talk to? And she ended up going and taking Paige's job, and so we just have the pipeline going out to Colorado from there. But it was kind of fun how that one worked out, and starting to get a great reputation in just different geographic areas for the changes that our teachers make.
And this is Justin. He graduated in May from the higher ed program, and Justin knew pretty early on that he wanted to be in Atlanta. So he was very intentional about visiting there, building his network there. He did a summer internship there, and he knows everybody in Atlanta now. So if you want to move back to Atlanta, I'm going to connect you with Justin.
Emily's another one that ended up in Atlanta, but she said, I want to go anywhere but Atlanta when we started talking. So we came in and she looked all around and then decided by the end of the program, she's like, maybe I do want to go back to Atlanta. So she ended up at the Marist School in Atlanta as a school counselor.
And this is Will. Will was a grad of the Leadership and Organizational Performance program. He graduated in May, and he knew that he wanted to work in baseball, and in order to reach that goal, he became dedicated to learning everything about the field. And so every time you'd run into him, on campus, he would say, "Ask me a question about baseball." So I would say, who is the Golden Globe, I keep saying that, Golden Glove winner, in 1989, he would know exactly. So he would have his colleagues and friends quiz him, and he used that, went to a couple conferences. He landed a position with the Texas Rangers, and he actually just last week announced that he's going to be working for the Mariners. So he has a fun story.
You're practicing your acceptance speech
I
there
don't
with the Golden Globes. This is Tina. She wanted to work in the U.S. and came. Which one was that one? 5 men. Okay. Well, we're rolling though. We're going to make it. Said I want to work in the U.S. Next year, and was ended up conducting a pretty thorough search and landed at the Westchester School in High Point, North Carolina. Oh, mine too. Zora. And Zora went a little further afield. She ended up in Pakistan and worked for the Citizens Foundation, but wanted to work for a group that was making international change for kids. And it was cool to see her, work with her through this process. And she actually worked back through some of her Humphrey Fellows to find connections in the area, so kind of tapping into some of the unique resources that are on Peabody's campus. Oh, mine too. Okay. One more. So it's Ken wanted to go to New York City. Started out looking at New York City, ended up in Chicago, but he's real happy with the process. It's kind of this change that happens, and so shifted it slightly, but ended up with from the clinical mental health counseling program and going to Rogers Behavioral Health. And looking at, you can see what the focus was, deeply committed to serving diverse learners, and stayed right here in town with the NASA group as a literacy coach after going through the reading program.
And this is Irene. She graduated from the International Ed Policy and Management program, and Irene had a unique search because she knew that she wanted to be in one of 3 cities in Asia, and so she was very intentional about reaching out to the greater Vanderbilt alumni groups in those cities, and she also looked at her undergraduate alma mater alumni groups, and she was able to really build up her connections there. So we worked together on that, and she landed a great position with the Jump Foundation. And
Shantius, I knew she wanted to be a consultant and come at and also find a area where she could make a real difference with first-generation students, and ended up with Equal Measure, and kind of a group that really just kind of spoke to her heart's desire there. And then went back with this one. This is in California. So I wanted to show you some of the geographic spread of where everybody is, and Laura was able to land a position at the Bishop School in California after graduation, and kind of through that, it's a lot of finding your alumni that work in an area, and then turning them into advocates so that you can land in different areas. So there's the job search types vary. Go ahead. And then Danielle ended up with Autism Tennessee, and knew right off the bat that she, coming in the door, she wanted to be head on a behavior analysis track and work with autistic children in Tennessee, and ended up with a fantastic organization. Okay, so. Well, and this information we'll have from 4 to 5 today. We'll be back in the atrium and have kind of the annual report that kind of lists everything that's well, a lot of what we have on this slide is in terms of the results and some of the process for getting there. And then we've also broken it down by program. So for the past 3 years, kind of the results that we've had, and then some sample job titles. If you want to stop by and we decided not to print these out, but what we'll do is we'll get your email addresses and mail them to you if you want to get copies of all of this information. And I guess as we're thinking about this, it really is an honor to work with students and to kind of partner with them as people go into their stories of success. And it's also amazing to see the difference, that positive difference that I think Dean Shields alluded to right off the bat of the difference our graduates are making out there in the field. And our success and your success are inextricably tied together. We look at the results of what you're doing in terms of the knowledge rate and where you go is what we do. So we will work with you very closely to ensure that you're going to go out and make that positive difference. We're going to work closely with you to think about what are the unique skills and talents that you bring to the table, and then where can you, who are alumni, who are people that you can express this with once you get out there to start the next chapter in your story of success? We thank you for your time today and really look forward to working with you when you come to Vanderbilt Peabody.